The only introduction this game needs is that it's the tabletop RPG tie-in to the computer game Cyberpunk 2077 and the anime Cyberpunk Edgerunners. The 4th edition of a game originally conceived by the legendary Maximum Mike Pondsmith and his team at R. Talzorian Games. Let's not waste any more time, chooms. We're talking about Cyberpunk RED. You all probably know the deal about Cyberpunk by now, both as a game and a genre. Corporations control everything, but fueled by their infinite greed, even that wasn't enough. They want everything for their corporation and nobody else. How that plays out is how every Cyberpunk setting differs, so it's worth noting that about Cyberpunk RED. In this case, they waged war with one another. Openly. People fought and died for the interests of corporations because it was either that, or waste away with no hope for the future. And those wars left supply chains and distribution networks completely trashed. So even if you got money, that doesn't mean you can spend it, because if nobody has what you want, you're not going to be able to buy it from them. And the internet, as we know it, is completely trashed too. So no places like Scamazon for you to waste your money on. Well, maybe not trashed, but it is incredibly dangerous to use and certainly not worth it to go buying and selling tchotchkes and gewgaws. Which means a primary source of conflict is figuring out where goodies are, getting to them first, and getting them to where they need to be if you want to sell them. And there are people at every step of the chain that want their cut. And yes, of course, there's all manner of cybernetics and body modifications out there, both practical for convenience's sake, and also just to look cool. And some other really wild things like sprouting scythes out of your arms. Enough of that though, let's dive into the nuts and bolts of this game. The rulebook weighs in at a little over 450 pages, and yes, it is a lot. The good news though is that it's a very well organized book. They start you off with all the basics and give you more details as you go deeper in. And there's plenty of internal indexing. There is no shortage of sidebars pointing you to the pages that give you what information you're looking for. There is also one unifying rule that governs pretty much everything in Cyberpunk RED. When you're in doubt, roll a 10-sided die, compare the results to something. If your character's ability to do something is in question, you'll roll the d10 and add that number to a stat and skill that they have that's related to what they're trying to do. That number will either be compared to a number the Game Master comes up with, based on the chart on page 129, or against somebody else making their own roll. Now, there are also some special rules for if you get a 1 or a 10 on that die. On a 10, you get a critical success. You roll another 10-sided die, and add that to the total as well. Though if that second die comes up as 10, that's where the extra dice stop. The reverse happens if you get a 1. You roll another d10, and you subtract that from your result. Luckily, if your second dice comes up as a 1, that's where the rolling stops. Your 6-sided die will usually come up when dealing damage to things, or if you're consulting some other chart. The less common situations. Character creation starts on page 40, and there's 3 methods of character creation in Cyberpunk RED. Street Rat, which is the simplest and fastest, but offers you the least amount of choice. Complete Package, which is for people who want control over pretty much every single aspect of their character. And Edgerunner, which is a happy middle ground between the two. Gives a little bit more options than Street Rat, but it also takes a little bit more time and might be a little bit more random. Pages 41 and 42 are flowcharts that explain the steps of character creation of all 3 types, complete with reference pages for the specific method you're using. And the character creation chapter goes over all 3 of these at once. So if you're a crazy sort of game master that wants to allow different types of character creation, everybody can be mostly on the same page, literally. Another interesting feature of the character creation section is that it has plenty of specific game rules mixed in. Not everything, but just enough to give you an idea of what you need to know for the part that you're going through at the moment. The first thing you pick is your role, and this defines what your character does, how people are likely to describe what they do, and a whole host of other things. It defines what your experiences starting out playing a game of Cyberpunk RED is going to be like, since so much is influenced by this during character creation. The most important consideration is what skills it'll mean that you're good with, as well as what your role ability is. Your role ability is the thing that makes your character really stand out. It's the things like how a tech is able to build things, solos can adapt their fighting style, and fixers just know a guy no matter what it is you need. After that is your character's life path, and if there was ever a tradition that should persist in tabletop role-playing games with a definite setting, this is it: life paths. Life paths are random charts telling the story of how your character got to where they currently are. And this is honestly a really fun thing to do with all the players present, especially since you can work together to determine how exactly everyone at the table fits together. Life paths are mostly about who your character has been around up to this point. Your character's stats are randomized per some charts based on your role in the Street Rat and Edgerunner categories. The only major difference between Street Rat and Edgerunner is how many times you're going to roll. Edgerunners roll and consult their chart once for each stat, meanwhile Street Rats roll once and copy the entire row. Complete package characters get a certain amount of points they can divide up as they see fit, but every stat must be at least 2 and no higher than 8. The stats in question are divided into 4 groups. The mental stats are intelligence, which is your character's awareness, perception, and general problem-solving ability. Willpower, which is their ability to deal with stress and to persevere. It affects their HP. Cool, which is their ability to interact with people. And empathy, which is your character's ability to understand and care about other people, as well as how you resist cyberpsychosis. The combat skills are technique, which is your ability to manipulate tools with precision, and reflexes, which is your ability to quickly coordinate your actions. This affects ranged weapon accuracy. The fortune skill only has one stat: luck, and that is the most important stat in any role-playing game, and perhaps even life itself. Mechanically, in Cyberpunk RED, this gives you bonus points that you can use to move a die roll in one direction or the other, but you can only use them on a one-for-one basis, and they only regenerate between game sessions. And the physical group includes body, which is your character's size, toughness, and general physical health. Dexterity, which is how good they are at moving their body. This affects melee attack accuracy. And move, which is, predictably, how fast they can move. As for derived stats, those are made up of some mathematical formula that you'll need to use. But if you're prone to math anxiety or some other problem like dyscalculia, they have been pre-calculated and put into a chart for you. Very nice. Your HP is 10 plus 5 times the average of your body and will rounded up. Half of your HP rounded up is your character's seriously wounded threshold, and you also have a death save equal to your body rating. Your character's humanity is 10 times their empathy. The full list of skills starts on page 82, and most of their names are pretty self-explanatory. Worth noting for some of the skills, however, is that some are harder to learn than others, and thus they cost more points to acquire. Now, for the ways that you assign your skills. Street Rat is the easiest. Find your role and copy down what your skills are and how much they are, and you're done. With this, you should be able to do everything within your role without much trouble. Edgerunner has the same list of skills as Street Rat, but gives you 86 points to divide among them as you see fit. So if you want to be better at a certain part of your role, or maybe worse, you do have that option. Or you can do what they suggest and slam 4 into everything, leaving you with 6 points left over to put wherever else. But no matter what, there's a set of basic skills everybody needs to have at a rating of 2. And those are a part of every role's list, so they're hard to miss. This is also one of the places where a complete package is actually not too different from Edgerunner. Once you've got 2 in all your basic skills, you can put the rest of your points wherever you want. After you've decided on your skills, you have equipment. Edgerunner and Street Rat are much the same in this case. You get a list of what you start with based on your role. This applies for weapons, armor, as well as a whole bunch of other mundane things. Simple as that. Complete package is a little bit more complicated. You have 2,550 Eurobucks to buy equipment. Everything, from the big iron on your hip to what you're wearing to protect your modesty. Then, everybody, regardless of what their character creation method is, gets 800 Eurobucks for filling out their closet. This 800 is use or lose, so if you want a character with a Spartan or even empty wardrobe, there isn't much stopping you. And because it's so much fun to worry about housing in the real world, you also have to worry about housing for your character. Unless you're an exec, your character has to scrounge up 1,100 eddies the first of every month, or hit the streets. But it ain't all it's cracked up to be being an exec. Sure, you don't gotta worry about rent, but heaven forbid you don't live up to your corporation's corporate values. Also included as part of standard equipment is cyberware, robot parts. Under Street Rat and Edgerunner, your kit for this is already determined, complete with the humanity and empathy loss. That's the price you pay for gutting parts of your body and replacing them with robot parts that make you distinctly not human. You become a weirdo that has trouble relating to other ordinary people. Complete package characters, however, get to pick and choose what and how much they want. So long it does not put them into the red. The 2,550 eddies that you start with, that also has to pay for your cyberware. And once you've got your equipment, you're more or less done with making your character. Character creation is a pretty long section. It spans some 80 pages. Luckily, most of it is either vital explanation you need before you can make decisions, explaining something for a character creation method that you won't be using, or is just charts where you only need to find what's relevant to you. It's a light and easy read, and if you want to skip around, you've got the flow charts on pages 41 and 42 to guide you. Before I go into my final thoughts, though, I do want to revisit the basic mechanics, especially since we've gone over character creation at this point. Let's do a little bit of math to help make sense of some of these numbers, and start with the facts. Your base die for determining any action is a d10, 10 sides. This means you have a 50% chance to get 5 or lower, the old coin toss. Every stat or skill thus gives you a plus 10% to your chance to succeed. All the basic skills start at 2 and cannot be higher than 6 at the start. And stats range anywhere from 3 to 8, with 5 being the most common rating. So on average, we can assume a basic skill level of 7, 5 coming from a stat and 2 coming from a skill, which, with 5 added to it from the old coin toss, would give us 12. This means 12 is the highest result an average person can be expected to get on a die roll and still fail, which would then mean that 13 or higher would be winning the coin toss. And if we take a peek on page 129, 13 is the difficulty value of every day. The description says, this feat is something most people can do without a lot of special training. And this gives us a good basis for understanding just how powerful certain ratings are or should be, since something you're expected to be better at than just kind of knowing it exists is rated at 4 based on your character's native language, meaning that we can up the winning coin toss number to 16. And the highest a skill can be rated at is 6, which puts that number to 18, also known as the professional difficulty, described as requiring training to be able to do it with any regularity. Which, Street Rat puts most of your character's skills that they'll be using specifically for their role at that level. But keep in mind, the only reason to roll is if it's uncertain that you would be able to succeed, such as doing an everyday task, but under extreme circumstances, like while a riot is going on, or in a much shorter time than you normally would have. If there is a gold standard for tabletop role-playing games, I think it should be Cyberpunk RED. It has a simple core mechanic, and much of what else is included hinges off of that, even if it deviates a little bit. This is a game that's also all about role-playing, but doesn't forget that it's a game. If a game master wants to keep things simple, they can really just leave things to the basic D10 skill roll and ignore many of the other special rules. But some of the added complexities, such as the specifics of net running, the randomness of finding things at night markets, and just futzing around on a normal job while waiting for your contacts to do their work on a big score, they're present if you need or want them, and do add elements of strategy and chance beyond narrating what you do, with the occasional dice roll. That's all stuff I cut out of this video for the sake of brevity, but everything here is technically all you need. A core mechanic, defined character abilities and skills, and how to make said character. Thanks for watching. If you found this useful or interesting, give me a thumbs up like. And if you want to know more about Cyberpunk or other tabletop role-playing games, check out my other videos or consider subscribing. With all that said, always take it to the edge, chooms.